Welcome, dear friend, to this sacred space we create together tonight. As you settle into this moment, I invite you to release the weight of your day. Let your shoulders drop, soften your jaw, and allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to accomplish, no one you need to become in these next moments. Tonight, we embark on a journey together, a voyage into the heart of ancient wisdom that has guided seekers for thousands of years. These are not merely stories to pass the time before sleep. They are transmissions of insight, gentle keys that can unlock the doors of your own awareness, revealing truths that have always lived within you. The teachings we will explore come from the contemplative traditions of the East, particularly from the lineage of Zen, a path that emphasizes direct experience over intellectual understanding, simplicity over complexity, and the extraordinary nature of ordinary life. As we move through each narrative tonight, you may notice something shifting within you. Perhaps the noise of worry begins to fade. Perhaps the muscles you have been unconsciously clenching start to release. Perhaps the mind that has been racing all day gradually finds a slower, more spacious rhythm. This is not something you need to force or strive for. Simply allow it to unfold naturally like a flower opening to the morning sun. The great teachers of contemplative wisdom understood something profound true. Rest is not merely the absence of activity, but the presence of a particular quality of awareness, relaxed, open, and free from constant grasping. Tonight, you are invited into this quality of awareness. So take a moment now to adjust your position, finding that perfect balance between alertness and relaxation. Feel the surface beneath you supporting your weight completely. Notice how you do not have to hold yourself up. You can surrender to gravity, trusting that you are held. Let your eyes gently close if they haven't already, or soften your gaze to rest on nothing in particular. Take 3 slow, deep breaths with me now. Breathing in, feel your belly expand, your chest rise, your whole body filling with life-giving air. Breathing out, feel tension dissolving, worry releasing your whole being, settling into this present moment. Again, breathing in fullness and vitality. Breathing out, letting go of everything that no longer serves you. And once more, breathing in peace and stillness. Breathing out, arriving fully here, fully now. As your breath returns to its natural rhythm, know that each story tonight is a gift, not something to analyze or memorize, but something to receive with an open heart. The wisdom will work on you in ways your conscious mind may not immediately recognize, planting seeds that will continue to grow long after these words have faded into silence. Let us begin our journey. In a small village nestled in a valley where mountains rose like ancient sentinels on all sides, there lived a farmer whose name was known to all his neighbors, though his wisdom was recognized by few. His small plot of land sat at the edge of the village where the cultivated fields met the wild forest. He lived simply in a modest house built by his grandfather's hands, with wooden walls weathered by decades of sun and rain, and a roof of thatch that he repaired each autumn before the winter snows arrived. The farmer's life followed the eternal rhythms of the seasons. In spring he planted, in summer he tended, in autumn he harvested, in winter he rested and prepared. He asked for nothing more than this simple cycle, and his heart held a contentment that seemed incomprehensible to those who knew him. For you see, by the standards of the village, he was not a successful man. His plot was small. His house was humble. His possessions were few. But he had one treasure that made all the difference to his livelihood: a magnificent horse. This animal was strong and intelligent, capable of pulling a plow through the hardest soil, and gentle enough to be trusted with the most delicate tasks. The horse had been with the farmer for 7 years, and between them had grown a bond of mutual respect and affection. Each morning, the farmer would greet his horse with a gentle hand on its neck, and the horse would nuzzle his shoulder in return. It was a spring morning when everything changed. The farmer had risen before dawn, as was his custom, performed his simple ritual of washing and offering gratitude for the new day, and walked out to the small stable where his horse spent the nights. But the stable door hung open, creaking slightly in the morning breeze. The farmer's heart gave a small jump of concern as he quickened his pace. The stable was empty. His horse was gone. The farmer stood very still for a long moment, taking in this new reality. He walked the perimeter of his property, looking for any sign of the animal. He checked the fence and found a section where the old wood had finally given way, creating an opening just large enough for a horse to pass through. Hoof prints in the soft earth led away toward the forest, growing fainter and fainter, until they disappeared entirely among the trees. By mid-morning, word of the farmer's loss had spread through the village. Neighbors began arriving at his door, their faces heavy with sympathy and concern. They gathered in his small yard, shaking their heads and speaking in the hushed tones people use when confronting misfortune. "Wow, what terrible luck!" exclaimed the baker, a round man whose hands were always dusted with flour. "Your only horse gone. How will you prepare your fields for planting? The season waits for no one." "This is a disaster!" agreed the weaver, wringing her hands. "Without a horse, you cannot plow. Without plowing, you cannot plant. Without planting, there will be no harvest. What will you do?" The blacksmith, a practical man who measured life in problems and solutions, offered his assessment. "No, you'll have to borrow money to buy another horse, and at this time of year prices will be high. You'll be in debt for years trying to recover from this." The farmer listened to each neighbor's assessment of his misfortune. He saw the genuine concern in their eyes, heard the worry in their voices. They cared for him, and in their caring, they were certain that this event signified catastrophe. Everything they said made logical sense. By every reasonable measure, the loss of his only horse at the beginning of planting season should indeed be devastating. But when they had all finished speaking, when they all stood waiting for his response, perhaps expecting tears or anger, or at least some visible sign of the despair they felt on his behalf, the farmer simply looked toward the mountains where the forest began, where his horse had disappeared into the wilderness. His face remained calm, almost peaceful. His breathing stayed slow and steady. "Maybe so, maybe not," he said quietly, his voice carrying neither distress nor denial. "We shall see." The neighbors exchanged confused glances. Surely the farmer didn't understand the severity of his situation. Perhaps the shock had affected his thinking. They tried again to make him see the obvious truth of his misfortune, but he only repeated with the same gentle firmness, Maybe so, maybe not, we shall see. Eventually, the neighbors departed, murmuring among themselves about the farmer's strange reaction. Some thought him simple-minded. Others wondered if pride prevented him from showing his true feelings. A few considered that perhaps he knew something they didn't, though they couldn't imagine what that might be. The farmer returned to his work. There was much he could do without a horse. Repairing tools, mending fences, preparing the irrigation channels. He moved through these tasks with the same steady presence he brought to everything, neither rushing in panic nor slowing in despair. When evening came, he ate his simple meal, sat for a while watching the stars emerge, and went to bed at his usual time. 3 days passed. The farmer continued his work, adapting to his new circumstances without complaint. He borrowed a hand plow from a neighbor and began the laborious task of breaking ground in his smaller plots, work that would have taken hours with a horse, but now consumed entire days. His back ached from the unfamiliar strain, but he worked steadily, taking breaks to straighten and breathe, then returning to the task. On the afternoon of the third day, the farmer was working in his field when he heard a sound that made him pause, the distinctive thunder of hooves. Not just one animal, but several. He straightened and looked toward the forest, just in time to see a remarkable sight. His horse was returning, galloping across the open land between the forest and the village. But the animal was not alone. Following behind, clearly drawn by some bond or simply following the leader, came 5 wild horses, magnificent creatures with coats that gleamed in the afternoon sun. Manes flowing like dark water, eyes bright with the freedom of the untamed places. The farmer's horse led this small herd directly to the broken fence, then threw it into the familiar territory of home. The wild horses, curious and uncertain, followed. Within minutes, the farmer had closed the gap in the fence, and now his small property contained not 1 horse, but 6. Word spread through the village even faster than it had 3 days earlier. This time, neighbors came running, their faces alight with excitement and amazement. They crowded around the fence, marveling at the wild horses, calculating their value, and celebrating what they saw as an incredible reversal of fortune. "What amazing luck!" the baker shouted, slapping his flour-dusted thigh. Not only did your horse return, but it brought 5 more with it. You've gone from disaster to prosperity in just 3 days. This is wonderful!" the weaver exclaimed, her hands clasped together in delight. "Do you know what these horses are worth? You could sell them and buy more land hire, help expand your farming operation." The blacksmith nodded vigorously, already calculating possibilities. "With the 6 horses, you could plow 3 times as much land. You could hire them out to other farmers. You're blessed, truly blessed. This is incredible fortune." Again, the neighbors waited for the farmer's reaction. Surely now he would show appropriate joy, relief, and celebration. Surely he would acknowledge that this was indeed wonderful luck, a gift from the heavens, a miraculous turn of events. The farmer looked at his returned horse, who stood calmly near the water trough as if nothing unusual had occurred. He looked at the 5 wild horses, still nervous and skittish, their muscles tense with readiness to bolt at any sudden movement. He saw what his neighbors saw, 6 horses where there had been none just days before. Then he turned to his neighbors with the same calm expression they had seen 3 days earlier, and said simply, "Maybe so, maybe not. We shall see." The neighbors fell silent, their excitement dimming to confusion. How could he not recognize this as good fortune? What was there to wait and see about? The horses were right there, real and tangible. But the farmer offered no further explanation. He thanked his neighbors for their concern and their joy on his behalf, then turned his attention to the practical matters at hand. These wild horses would need time to settle, careful handling to begin building trust, and patient training before they could be of any use. The work ahead was substantial, but he would take it one step at a time, as he took everything. The following week, the farmer's son, a strong young man of 23 years who helped with the farm work, decided to begin the process of training the wild horses. He was skilled with animals, patient and confident, and both he and his father agreed that the work should begin. The son chose the calmest of the wild horses, a beautiful mare with a gentle eye. He spent several days simply being near her, allowing her to grow accustomed to his presence, his scent, his voice. Gradually, she allowed him to touch her, to place a blanket on her back, to lead her around the enclosure with a soft rope. On the morning when he decided to mount her for the first time, the farmer stood nearby ready to help if needed, but trusting his son's judgment and skill. The young man approached the mare carefully, speaking softly, moving slowly. She seemed calm, almost ready. He placed his weight in the stirrup and began to swing his leg over her back. In that instant, something shifted. Perhaps a bird startled from a nearby tree. Perhaps some instinct from her wild days suddenly surged through the mare. Whatever the cause, she exploded into motion, bucking, twisting, trying desperately to dislodge this weight on her back. The son, caught off balance in mid-mount, had no chance to recover. He was thrown violently, his body hitting the ground with a sickening sound that the farmer would remember for the rest of his life. The young man cried out in pain. His leg twisted at an unnatural angle beneath him. The farmer was at his son's side in seconds, calling for help, carefully straightening the injured leg, while his son gritted his teeth against waves of pain. Neighbors came running at the commotion. Together they fashioned a stretcher and carried the young man into the house, laying him carefully on his bed. The village healer was summoned, an old woman with knowledge of bones and herbs passed down through generations. She examined the leg carefully, her experienced hands feeling along the swollen, discolored flesh. Her face was grave as she delivered her assessment. "The leg is badly broken," she said. "Both bones clean fractures, but severe. I can set them, but he will not walk for many months. Even then there may be permanent weakness. I'm sorry." She did her work with skill, setting the bones and binding the leg with splints and wrappings. She left instructions for care and herbal preparations for pain, but her eyes held worry. Such injuries sometimes healed poorly. Infection was always a risk. The young man's future had been changed in an instant. Once again, the neighbors gathered, but this time, their earlier excitement had transformed into sorrow and concern. They surrounded the farmer as he stood in his yard staring at nothing, processing what had just occurred. What horrible misfortune!" The baker said, his voice heavy with sympathy. "Just days ago we were celebrating your good luck, and now this. Your only son injured so badly. This is terrible." The weaver added, tears in her eyes. "He's such a good young man, and now he faces months of suffering and uncertainty. You'll have to do all the work yourself during the critical planting and growing season. And what if the leg doesn't heal properly? What then?" The blacksmith, ever practical, even in his sympathy, laid out the implications. "Those horses that seemed like such a blessing have brought disaster. If you hadn't gotten the wild horses, your son never would have been injured. The price of good fortune is sometimes very high." The farmer listened to it all. He felt the ache in his chest when he thought of his son's pain. He understood the challenges ahead, the work that would fall solely on his aging shoulders, the uncertainty about his son's recovery, the fear any parent feels when their child suffers. He was not immune to these feelings. He was not pretending they didn't exist. But when his neighbors finished speaking, when they waited for him to acknowledge the obvious tragedy of the situation, the farmer took a slow breath and said, with a slight tremor in his voice that revealed his genuine emotion, "Maybe so, maybe not. We shall see." Some neighbors gasped at what they perceived as callousness. Others shook their heads in disbelief. How could any father respond so calmly to his son's serious injury? But those who knew the farmer best, who had heard this response twice before in the past 2 weeks, began to sense that something deeper was at work here, a way of meeting life's ups and downs that transcended their usual patterns of reaction. A month passed. The farmer's son lay in bed, his legs slowly healing, the swelling gradually subsiding, though the young man's frustration grew daily. He was accustomed to physical work, to contributing, to being useful. Now he could do nothing but rest and wait while his father worked twice as hard to maintain the farm. The farmer divided his days between field work and caring for his son, bringing meals, changing bandages, helping with movement that wouldn't disturb the healing bones. In the evenings, they would sit together, the son propped up in his bed, the father in a chair nearby. And they would talk, conversations deeper than they had shared in years. The forced stillness had created a space for connection. It was during one of these quiet evenings that they heard the sound of drums and trumpets from the village center. Official announcements were always made this way, and both father and son fell silent, listening to the distant commotion, wondering what news was being proclaimed. The answer came soon enough. Within an hour, neighbors began arriving at the farmer's door, their faces showing a complex mixture of fear, resignation, and, when they looked at the farmer's injured son, something that looked almost like envy. "War," the baker said simply, his usual jovial tone replaced by grim flatness. "The provincial governor has ordered conscription of all able-bodied young men between the ages of 18 and 30. They're to report to the central garrison in 3 days for military training and deployment. The conflict in the northern territories has escalated," the weaver explained, her voice shaking. "They need soldiers. My nephew is being taken, and the blacksmith's 2 sons as well. Every family with young men is being torn apart." The neighbors looked at the farmer's son, lying in his bed with his legs still bound and splinted, unable to walk more than a few painful steps even with help. The meaning was clear. "He cannot go," the healer said quietly. She had come with the others, wanting to ensure everyone understood the medical reality. "The leg is healing, but it will be months before he can walk normally, let alone march and fight. He is exempt from conscription on medical grounds." A profound silence settled over the room. The farmer understood immediately what his neighbors were thinking, but were too kind to say directly. His son's terrible injury, which had seemed such a tragedy just weeks ago, had now saved his life, while other young men of the village were being sent to war. A brutal conflict where many would not return. The farmer's son would remain safe at home, healing. The blacksmith broke the silence, his voice rough with emotion. "I would give anything for my sons to have broken legs. Anything. I would break their legs myself if it meant they could stay home." Tears ran down his weathered cheeks. "Your terrible fortune has become the greatest blessing imaginable." One by one the neighbors spoke, and one by one their words echoed the same theme. What had appeared to be catastrophic misfortune was now revealed as profound grace. The injury that had seemed to destroy the young man's future had in fact preserved it. They all turned to the farmer, waiting for his response. Surely now he would acknowledge the strange wisdom of his earlier restraint. Surely now he would agree that, yes, the injury had indeed been good fortune in disguise. The farmer looked at his son, whose eyes were wide with the realization of how close he had come to being sent to war. He felt gratitude rising in his chest. Yes, genuine gratitude that his son would remain safe, but he also felt sorrow for his neighbors whose sons were being taken. He felt the complexity of a moment that was both blessing and tragedy, depending on where you stood. He turned to his neighbors and, for the fourth time in a month, offered the same response. Maybe so, maybe not, we shall see. But this time, something different happened. Instead of confusion or frustration, several of the neighbors nodded slowly. The baker smiled despite his tears. The weaver touched the farmer's hand with understanding. They were beginning to grasp what he had known all along. As we sit with this story, allow yourself to feel into its wisdom. The farmer's practice, this simple, maybe so, maybe not, was not cold indifference or denial of reality. It was something far more sophisticated, the refusal to rush to final judgment about events whose meaning had not yet fully revealed itself. Think carefully about what actually happened in this story. Each event was real. The horse truly disappeared. That was not an illusion. The wild horses truly arrived. That happened. The son was truly injured. That pain was genuine. War truly came, and conscription truly occurred. The farmer didn't deny any of these facts. What he refused to do was add a layer of mental suffering on top of each event by deciding prematurely whether it was good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate. And in that refusal, he saved himself from enormous amounts of unnecessary anguish. Consider the neighbor's experience compared to the farmer's. When the horse disappeared, the neighbors immediately spiraled, into worry and doomsaying. They spent 3 days, certain of disaster, their minds churning with scenarios of debt and ruin, suffering that turned out to be completely unnecessary because the situation resolved itself in unexpected ways. When the horses arrived, the neighbor's mind swung to the opposite extreme: celebration and excitement based on the assumption that this was unquestionable good fortune. But that judgment, too, proved premature. And when the son was injured, the emotional whiplash of going from celebration to despair added extra suffering to an already difficult situation. The farmer rode none of these emotional waves. He met each situation with presence and appropriate action, but without the added burden of deciding its ultimate meaning. This saved him enormous energy and kept his mind clear for practical response. But here is the subtler teaching, the one that perhaps his neighbors were beginning to understand. By the end, life is far too complex, too interconnected, and too mysterious for our judgments to capture its true nature. We live in the middle of stories whose endings we cannot see. Every event is part of an unfolding pattern, too vast for our limited perspective to comprehend fully. The horse's disappearance was neither good nor bad in itself. It was simply what happened. Its meaning depended entirely on what came after, which depended on what came after that, in an infinite chain of causation, extending in all directions, through time. To claim certain knowledge of whether any single event is fortunate or unfortunate is to pretend we can see this entire web of cause and effect, which we cannot. This doesn't mean we shouldn't have preferences or work toward positive outcomes. The farmer certainly preferred having his horse to not having it. He was pleased when it returned. He felt appropriate concern when his son was injured. These natural responses are part of being human. What he avoided was the extra layer of mental story making that goes beyond these natural responses, the catastrophizing, the premature celebration, the rigid insistence that he knew what events meant before their consequences had fully unfolded. Now, bring this teaching into your own life. Reflect on the past week, month, or year. How many times did something happen that you immediately labeled as terrible, only to discover later that it led to something valuable? Perhaps you didn't get a job you wanted, which left you available for a better opportunity. Perhaps a relationship ended, creating space for personal growth you desperately needed. Perhaps an illness forced rest that your body had been requiring. And how many times did something you celebrated as wonderful later reveal complications? The promotion that brought stress, the purchase that brought debt, the relationship that started with excitement but led to heartache. Our track record at predicting whether events are ultimately good or bad is remarkably poor. Yet we continue to rush to judgment with each new development, creating suffering through our premature conclusions. The practice the farmer embodied is available to you right now, in this moment. It doesn't require years of training or special abilities. It simply requires the willingness to hold your judgments more lightly, to meet each event with curiosity rather than certainty, and to remember that you are living in the middle of a story whose ending you cannot yet see. When something you perceive as negative occurs, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, notice the mind's immediate rush to label it as terrible, to spin out all the catastrophic implications, to decide with certainty that this is bad news. In that moment, you can pause, take a breath, and whisper to yourself what the farmer knew. Maybe so, maybe not. We shall see. This simple phrase creates space. It acknowledges reality without adding unnecessary suffering. It keeps the mind open and flexible instead of rigid and reactive. It allows you to respond practically to what needs attention while reserving judgment about ultimate meaning. And when something you perceive as wonderful occurs, you can bring the same wisdom. Enjoy the moment fully. Appreciate what's here, but hold lightly the certainty that this is unquestionably good fortune. Life is complex. This good thing might lead to challenges. Those challenges might lead to growth. That growth might lead to unexpected benefits. The chain continues beyond what you can see. Maybe so, maybe not. We shall see. Can you feel the relief in these words? The softening of the tight grip we usually maintain, trying to control and judge. And know there is profound rest available in this stance of wise uncertainty, this willingness to meet life as it unfolds without pretending to know more than we do. As you prepare for sleep tonight, you might experiment with extending this attitude to the thoughts and concerns that typically keep you awake. That worry about tomorrow, maybe it will unfold as you fear, maybe not. We shall see. That regret about the past, maybe it was the disaster you believe, maybe not. Its full meaning has yet to be revealed. In this gentle not knowing, there is peace. Not the peace of certainty, but something deeper, the peace of trust in life's mysterious unfolding, the peace of releasing the exhausting work of constant judgment, the peace of meeting each moment with openness rather than predetermined conclusions. Rest now in this wisdom. Let it work on you at levels deeper than conscious thought. The farmer's teaching is now yours to carry, a tool available whenever you need it, a reminder that you can always choose presence over premature judgment, openness over rigid certainty, trust over anxious control. Breathe it in. Maybe so, maybe not. Breathe it out. We shall see, and in this breathing, find rest. In the capital city during the reign of the Emperor Meiji, when traditional arts were held in the highest esteem and masters of various disciplines competed for royal patronage and recognition, there lived a tea master whose name was spoken with reverence throughout the land. He had studied the way of tea for 47 years, beginning as a young boy of 7 when he was apprenticed to his grandfather himself, a renowned practitioner of this refined art. The tea ceremony, as practiced in the highest courts and most distinguished houses, was far more than simply preparing and serving tea. It was considered a moving meditation, a spiritual practice that encompassed aesthetics, philosophy, mindfulness, and the profound understanding that every gesture, every placement, every moment held significance. To master the way of tea was to master presence itself, to bring such complete attention to each action that the sacred became visible in the ordinary. This particular tea master had devoted his entire life to this pursuit. His teacher had been exacting, demanding perfection in every detail. The angle at which the bamboo scoop entered the tea container, the exact temperature of water for different types of tea, the rhythm of whisking that would create the ideal froth, the precise manner of rotating the tea bowl before presenting it to a guest. Nothing was too small to matter. Everything required complete attention. Over the decades, the tea master had internalized these teachings until they lived in his body, not just his mind. His movements had become fluid and graceful, each gesture arising naturally from years of repetition, refined into art. He could prepare tea in complete darkness, and it would be perfect. He could prepare tea while carrying on conversation, and never miss a step. The ceremony had become as natural to him as breathing. His reputation grew steadily through the years. He served tea to visiting dignitaries, to wealthy merchants, to famous artists and scholars. Each ceremony was flawless. Each guest left with a sense of having participated in something transcendent, a brief window into a realm where time slowed and beauty revealed itself in the simplest actions. It was therefore considered a great honor when word came from the imperial palace that the emperor himself wished to witness a tea ceremony performed by this master. The invitation arrived on fine paper, written in elegant calligraphy, delivered by a court official dressed in formal robes. The date was set for 3 months hence, allowing ample time for preparation. 3 months. The tea master had never needed 3 months to prepare for a ceremony. He could perform one flawlessly at a moment's notice. But this was the emperor. This was the culmination of nearly 5 decades of practice. This was the moment when everything he had learned, everything he had become, would be witnessed by the highest authority in the land. He began his preparations immediately. He selected the finest tea bowl from his collection, a piece created by a famous potter, its glaze showing subtle variations of color that suggested autumn leaves floating on still water. He chose the perfect bamboo scoop, carved by a master craftsman, its curve and weight ideal for scooping the precise amount of powdered tea. He acquired the most exquisite tea available, leaves grown in the shade, harvested at dawn, ground by hand into powder so fine it felt like silk between the fingers. Every item was cleaned, inspected, and arranged exactly. The tea master practiced the ceremony daily, refining movements that were already perfect, seeking an even higher level of grace and precision. He meditated on the meaning of each gesture, understanding not just the physical form, but the spiritual essence. He studied ancient texts on tea ceremony written by masters of previous centuries, absorbing their wisdom. As the appointed day approached, the tea master's focus intensified. He slept little, spending long hours in preparation. He visualized the ceremony from beginning to end, seeing each movement in his mind's eye, anticipating every detail. Nothing would be left to chance. This would be the most perfect tea ceremony ever performed. The morning of the ceremony arrived clear and bright. The tea master rose before dawn and went through his purification ritual, bathing carefully, dressing in his finest robes, spending an hour in seated meditation to calm his mind and center his awareness. He arrived at the palace 3 hours early to prepare the tea room, an exquisite space designed specifically for imperial ceremonies. He arranged everything with meticulous care. The scroll hanging in the alcove showed a simple bamboo painting with calligraphy expressing the essence of the season. The flower arrangement was minimal. A single autumn branch in a rustic vase, placed at precisely the right angle to catch the morning light. The charcoal in the brazier was arranged in the traditional pattern, heated to exactly the right temperature. The water in the iron kettle began to sing with that particular note that indicates perfect readiness. The tea master positioned each item in the ceremony with mathematical precision. The tea container here, exactly 3 finger widths from the edge of the tatami mat. The bamboo scoop there, at precisely the angle specified in classical texts. The tea bowl placed in the center, its most beautiful side, facing where the emperor would sit. The folded silk cloth for cleaning arranged just so. Everything was perfect. Nothing had been overlooked. He knelt in formal position and waited, his breathing slow and steady, his mind focused and clear. This was the moment his entire life had been building toward. The palace doors opened, and the emperor entered, accompanied by his small retinue of most trusted advisors and attendants. Protocol dictated that all should bow deeply, foreheads touching the mat, as the emperor took his position. The tea master performed his bow with perfect form, his heart beating faster despite his years of training. When he raised his head, he saw the emperor settling into position, looking at him with eyes that held both curiosity and kindness. The tea master began the ceremony. Every movement flowed exactly as he had practiced thousands of times. He purified each implement with the silk cloth, his hands moving in the prescribed rhythm. He scooped water from the kettle with a bamboo ladle, the sound of water returning to the kettle, creating that particular music that tea masters spend years learning to produce. He scooped the perfect amount of powdered tea into the bowl. Not too much, not too little, exactly as much as the moment required. Everything was unfolding flawlessly. The emperor watched with apparent fascination, his advisors equally absorbed. The tea master felt a quiet satisfaction rising within him. This was indeed becoming the perfect ceremony he had envisioned. His life's work was being validated in this moment. He lifted the kettle to pour hot water into the tea bowl, his movement smooth and controlled, when from the corner of the room came a sound that seemed to shatter the sacred atmosphere. A young palace attendant, a boy no more than 12 years old, who had been standing silently against the wall holding a decorative fan, shifted his weight nervously. Perhaps the stillness and formality had made him uncomfortable. Perhaps his leg had cramped from standing motionless. Whatever the cause, as he moved, his foot caught the edge of a low table that held extra tea bowls for the emperor's advisors. The table rocked. Everything seemed to slow down as the tea master watched, helpless, as one of the exquisite tea bowls began to slide toward the edge. Time stretched. The bowl teetered. The young attendant reached for it desperately, his face going white with horror. His hand missed by inches. The tea bowl fell. It struck the hardwood floor beyond the tatami mats with a sound that seemed impossibly loud in the profound silence. A sharp crack, followed by the tinkling of pieces scattering. One of the shards skittered across the floor and came to rest at the edge of the mat where the tea master knelt, his hand still holding the kettle. Frozen mid-pour, the young attendant dropped immediately to his knees, his whole body trembling. "Forgive me," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Please forgive me." He looked terrified, knowing that such a mistake in the emperor's presence could bring severe punishment. The room held its breath. Everyone waited to see how this disaster would be handled. The tea master could feel the eyes of the emperor upon him, watching to see his reaction. In that moment, 47 years of pursuit of perfection collided with something unexpected, something that all his preparation had not accounted for. The tea master carefully set down the kettle. He looked at the broken bowl. It was beautiful, even in its brokenness, the pieces showing the layers of glaze, the careful work of the potter, now revealed in its fracture. He looked at the young attendant, still trembling, still kneeling, waiting for rebuke or punishment. He looked at the perfect ceremony he had been conducting, now interrupted, now flawed by this accident. And then something shifted inside him. Some part of his mind that had been clenched tight for 3 months, perhaps for 47 years, suddenly relaxed. A smile began at the corners of his mouth, growing slowly into an expression of genuine warmth and even amusement. He rose gracefully and walked to where the young attendant knelt. Instead of scolding or showing anger, the tea master knelt beside the boy and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "How perfect," he said softly, his voice carrying clearly in the silent room. This moment has just taught us something that no flawless ceremony ever could. The young attendant looked up, confused and still frightened. The emperor leaned forward slightly, his interest clearly heightened. The tea master began gathering the pieces of the broken bowl, his movements calm and unhurried. "I have spent my entire life," the tea master said, arranging the broken pieces thoughtfully on the mat, pursuing the perfect tea ceremony. Every angle precise, every temperature exact, every movement rehearsed until it became effortless. And do you know what I was actually pursuing? He paused, looking at the shards. I was pursuing an illusion. He continued, his voice taking on a teaching quality that resonated through the room. Perfection is a phantom, always just beyond reach, creating endless striving and anxiety. We chase it, believing that when we finally achieve it, we will arrive at some ultimate state. But perfection is not a destination. It is a constantly receding horizon that keeps us perpetually dissatisfied with what is. The tea master lifted one of the larger pieces, turning it to catch the light. This bowl was beautiful when it was whole. But look, it is also beautiful in its brokenness. See how the fracture reveals the layers of glaze, the skill of the potter, the very structure of its creation. Things hidden when it was perfect are now visible. He looked at the young attendant with kindness. You have given us a great gift today. You have reminded us that impermanence flows through everything. No matter how carefully we plan, how meticulously we prepare, life will always include the unexpected. And that's not a flaw in life, that is life. The tea master stood and addressed the emperor directly, a gesture that would normally be considered bold, but the moment seemed to call for it. Your Majesty, I can perform a technically flawless ceremony. After 47 years, the movements are as natural as breathing. But that ceremony would have shown you only technique, only form. This moment, this broken bowl, this frightened young man, this opportunity to choose grace over judgment, this shows you something more valuable, the spirit that the ceremony is meant to cultivate. He returned to his position and carefully arranged the broken pieces of the bowl on the table in an artful pattern, creating a new kind of beauty from the fragments. In our tradition, there is a practice called kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with gold. The philosophy is that breakage and repair are part of an object's history, not something to disguise. The golden seams become the most beautiful parts, highlighting the cracks rather than hiding them. The tea master lifted the kettle again. With your Majesty's permission, I will continue the ceremony using the remaining bowls. But it will not be the perfect ceremony I planned. It will be better. It will be real. It will include both wholeness and brokenness, both precision and accident, both the planned and the unexpected. It will be like life itself. The emperor, who had been listening intently, nodded slowly. A smile crossed his face. Not the formal expression of a ruler, but the genuine warmth of a human being who has just understood something profound. Please continue, Master. I believe this has already become the most meaningful tea ceremony I have ever witnessed. The tea master returned to his preparation, but something fundamental had shifted. The movements were still graceful, still precise, but they carried a different quality now. Before, they had been perfect because he was executing a flawless plan. Now, they were perfect because he was completely present to this unrepeatable moment, with all its unique characteristics, including the broken bowl that sat artfully arranged on the table. He prepared tea for the emperor with full attention, but without the anxious striving that had characterized his earlier efforts. When he whisked the tea, The rhythm was natural, unforced, when he presented the bowl, rotating it so its most beautiful side faced the emperor. The gesture came from genuine care, rather than rigid adherence to form. The emperor lifted the bowl, following the traditional manner of receiving tea, appreciating its weight, its warmth, the way it sat in his hands. He took a sip, and his eyes closed briefly in appreciation. When he set the bowl down, he spoke. "Master, I have been served tea many times by practitioners who were technically flawless. Each movement was correct. Each temperature was exact. Each gesture followed classical form. And yet," he paused, searching for words. "And yet those ceremonies felt somehow hollow, as if I were watching a beautiful performance, rather than participating in something real." The emperor gestured to include the whole room. The broken bowl, the nervous attendant who was beginning to breathe normally again. "This ceremony, with its imperfection, has touched something deeper. You have shown me that the true practice is not about eliminating all possibility of mistake, but about meeting whatever arises with grace and wisdom." One of the emperor's senior advisors, an elderly scholar, known for his understanding of philosophy, spoke up. "Your Majesty, if I may, what the tea master has demonstrated is the essence of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection and impermanence. The broken bowl is more true than the perfect one, because it reminds us that everything is in a state of flux, everything is vulnerable, everything eventually breaks. To embrace this is to embrace reality itself." The tea master prepared tea for each of the advisors, and as he did so, he found himself noticing details he would have missed in his previous state of anxious perfection-seeking. The particular way the steam rose from each bowl, the subtle variations in color as the tea mixed with water, the unique quality of light at this particular moment, at this particular time of day, which would never be exactly replicated. When the ceremony concluded and all had been served, the emperor requested that the tea master sit with them for a while, setting aside the usual formality. They discussed the philosophy of tea, the nature of practice, the relationship between technique and spontaneity. The broken bowl sat between them, a silent teacher contributing its own wisdom to the conversation. Finally, the emperor made an unusual request. "Master, I would like you to take the broken bowl and have it repaired using kintsugi with the finest gold lacquer available. When it is completed, I would like you to use it in ceremonies from now on. Let it remind you, and anyone who sees it, of this day and this teaching." The tea master bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, I am honored beyond words. But may I suggest something? Let me use it in ceremonies. Yes, but let me also create a manual for tea practitioners based on today's teaching. I will call it The Way of Imperfect Perfection, and it will emphasize that true mastery includes the ability to meet the unexpected with grace." "An excellent idea," the emperor replied. "See that it is done." As the tea master prepared to leave the palace that afternoon, The young attendant who had dropped the bowl approached him nervously. "Master," the boy said, bowing deeply, "I am so sorry for ruining your perfect ceremony. I have been so frightened." The tea master stopped him gently. "But you did not ruin the ceremony. You completed it. You gave it authenticity. Without your mistake, I would have performed a technically perfect ceremony that served only my ego's need for validation. Instead, you helped create a teaching that will benefit countless people." He placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "I have been a student of tea for 47 years. Today, you were my teacher. I am grateful." As we reflect on the tea master's story, let it settle into your awareness, like sediment in still water, gradually revealing its layers of meaning. We live in a culture obsessed with perfection. Social media shows us carefully curated highlights of other people's lives. Perfect bodies, perfect homes, perfect relationships, perfect careers. Advertising constantly whispers that we are not enough as we are, that we need to improve, upgrade, optimize every aspect of our existence. This pursuit of perfection has become so normalized that we rarely question whether it's actually serving us. But let's look carefully at what the pursuit of perfection actually creates. First, it generates constant anxiety. If perfection is the standard, then anything less than perfect is failure. A small mistake becomes catastrophic. A minor flaw becomes unbearable. We live in constant fear of not measuring up, of being exposed as imperfect, of having our failures visible to others. Second, it prevents authentic connection. When we're performing perfection, we're not being real. We're showing a carefully constructed facade, hiding anything that might be seen as flawed. But human connection doesn't happen between perfect facades. It happens between real people who dare to show their actual struggles, fears, and imperfections. Third, it robs us of the present moment. The tea master was so focused on executing a perfect ceremony that he was not fully present to the ceremony itself. His attention was divided between what was happening and how it measured against his ideal. Only when the bowl broke did he fully arrive in the actual moment, with all its messy reality. Think about your own life. Where is the pursuit of perfection creating suffering? Maybe it's in your body image. Hours spent comparing yourself to impossible standards, harsh self-criticism about every flaw, endless dieting and exercise, motivated by self-rejection rather than self-care. Maybe it's in your work, reluctance to start projects unless you can do them perfectly. Procrastination, born from fear of imperfect results. Brutal self-judgment when outcomes don't match your internal standards. Maybe it's in your relationships, presenting a perfect version of yourself while hiding your struggles. Fear of being truly known because that would reveal your imperfections, or impossibly high standards for partners that prevent genuine intimacy. Maybe it's in your spiritual practice, treating meditation or mindfulness as another arena for achievement, judging yourself for having thoughts, believing you should be more peaceful, more aware, more enlightened. The Tea Master's realization offers a radically different approach. Instead of viewing imperfection as something to eliminate, what if we recognized it as essential to beauty, authenticity, and growth? Instead of hiding our cracks, what if we highlighted them with gold? This doesn't mean we abandon all standards or stop trying to do things well. The Tea Master's decades of practice were valuable. They gave him genuine skill and deep understanding. But when he stopped clinging to perfection as the ultimate goal, his skill could finally serve something greater than his ego's need for validation. The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi that the advisor mentioned is profound here. It finds beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. A weathered barn has more character than a pristine new one. A handmade ceramic bowl with slight irregularities is more beautiful than a factory-perfect one. A face lined with the marks of a life fully lived is more interesting than one frozen in artificial youth. This philosophy suggests that imperfection is not a flaw in reality, but an essential quality of it. Everything ages, everything changes, everything eventually breaks. This is not pessimistic, it's simply true. And when we accept this truth, rather than fighting it, we can finally relax into reality as it is, rather than constantly struggling with how we think it should be. Consider the practice of kintsugi that the Tea Master mentioned, repairing broken pottery with gold-laced lacquer. The philosophy is stunning in its wisdom. The breakage becomes part of the object's story, not something to hide, but something to highlight. The golden seams announce, "Yes, I was broken. Yes, I was repaired. This is part of my history, part of my beauty." What would it mean to apply kintsugi philosophy to your own life, to your own broken places? Perhaps you've experienced trauma, loss, failure, or disappointment. Our culture often suggests these should be hidden, gotten over, moved past as quickly as possible. But what if they're actually where your deepest beauty and wisdom reside? The parts of ourselves we're most ashamed of, the experiences we most want to hide, the ways we feel we don't measure up. These are often our most powerful teachers and the source of our greatest capacity for compassion. When we stop hiding them and instead honor them as part of our story, we transform shame into strength, brokenness into beauty. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, I invite you to practice a form of compassionate acceptance with yourself. Notice where you're holding tension, because some part of you doesn't measure up to your internal standard of perfection. Maybe your body isn't the shape you think it should be. Maybe your career hasn't progressed as you imagined. Maybe your meditation practice includes lots of distraction and wandering thoughts. Maybe you made mistakes today that you're replaying and criticizing. For each of these imperfections, can you pause and ask, what if this isn't actually a flaw? What if this is just reality, exactly as it is, in this moment? What if I could meet this with the same grace the tea master showed to the broken bowl? You might even imagine taking each imperfection and repairing it with gold in your mind. That extra weight you carry, gold lacquer of self-acceptance. Those career setbacks, gold lacquer of wisdom gained. Those racing thoughts in meditation, gold lacquer of honest humanity. Those mistakes you made, gold lacquer of learning and growth. The relief available in this shift is profound. When we stop fighting what is, when we stop demanding that reality be different than it actually is, an enormous burden lifts. We can finally rest. We can finally be present. We can finally appreciate this moment, this body, this life, exactly as they are, not despite their imperfections, but including them. The emperor recognized something important. The broken bowl ceremony was more meaningful than a perfect one would have been, because it was real. It included life as it actually happens, unexpected, imperfect, requiring us to meet each moment with fresh response rather than predetermined script. This is available to you always. You don't need to wait for a dramatic teaching moment like the tea master had. Every single day offers opportunities to practice meeting imperfection with grace. The spilled coffee, the missed deadline, the forgotten appointment, the unkind word you spoke, the goal you didn't achieve. Each of these can be met with harsh judgment and self-criticism, or they can be met with kind acceptance and learning. As you drift towards sleep tonight, let go of the exhausting work of trying to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love, rest, and peace. You don't need to fix all your flaws before you're allowed to relax. You can rest right now, exactly as you are, complete with all your beautiful imperfections. The broken bowl was always perfect, not despite being broken, but in its completeness that included both wholeness and fracture. You are like that bowl, already complete, already enough, already perfect. In your perfectly imperfect humanity, rest in this truth. Let it seep into your bones. You are not a project to be perfected, but a human being to be loved, exactly as you are right now. Breathe in acceptance. Breathe out striving. Breathe in grace. Breathe out judgment. Breathe in the gold-laced beauty of your perfectly imperfect self and rest. And now, as the room grows quiet again, let the lesson of the broken bowl settle gently inside you. In the next story, we leave the palace behind and travel toward a mountain where simplicity becomes a kind of freedom. In the heart of a thriving commercial city where silk traders negotiated in crowded marketplaces and merchants displayed goods from distant lands, there lived a man named Chen, who had achieved everything society proclaimed would bring happiness. His warehouses held valuable inventory from 3 provinces. His ships carried cargo across dangerous seas, always returning with profitable goods. His estate sprawled across acres of manicured gardens, with servants attending to every comfort and luxury. Chen had worked tirelessly for 30 years to build this empire. He had started with nothing, the son of a poor fisherman. He had worked his first job at age 12, carrying packages for a local merchant. Through intelligence, determination, and ruthless focus, he had climbed from poverty to prosperity, from obscurity to influence. Everything he touched seemed to turn to profit. His success was measured not just in wealth, but in recognition. Important officials sought his advice. Other merchants studied his methods. Young men asked to apprentice with him, hoping to learn the secrets of his success. His family lived in comfort that his parents could never have imagined. By every external measure, Chen had won at the game of life. Yet, something gnawed at him, constantly, a persistent hollowness that all his achievements could not fill. He would wake at 3 in the morning, his mind already racing with calculations, strategies, worries about shipments and competitors and market conditions. During lavish dinners surrounded by important guests, he would feel strangely disconnected, as if watching himself from a distance. When servants brought him delicacies from far lands, the food tasted like ashes in his mouth. Chen tried everything to fill this emptiness. He acquired more property, thinking perhaps he simply hadn't achieved enough yet. He sponsored elaborate entertainments, hoping pleasure would bring satisfaction. He increased his charitable donations, wondering if generosity would ease the ache. Nothing worked. The void remained, sometimes quiet, sometimes screaming, but always present. One evening, he hosted a gathering of scholars and artists at his estate. Among the guests was an elderly poet who had spent years traveling the countryside, living simply and writing verses about nature and the human heart. During the meal, the poet mentioned having recently visited a hermit who lived in the remote mountains 3 days' journey north of the city. This hermit, the poet said, his eyes distant with memory, lives in a cave barely large enough to lie down in. He owns nothing but a single robe, a wooden bowl, and a meditation cushion. Yet I have never encountered anyone who radiated such profound contentment. It was as if peace simply emanated from him, like warmth from a fire. Something in Chen stirred at these words. He leaned forward, ignoring his expensive wine. How is such a thing possible? How can a man with nothing be content while I with everything feel empty? The poet smiled gently. Perhaps that is a question worth traveling to ask. That night, Chen could not sleep. He lay in his luxurious bed surrounded by silk hangings and fine furniture, and felt more restless than ever. By morning, he had made a decision. He would journey to find this hermit and discover the secret of contentment that had eluded him, despite all his wealth. He prepared for the journey, as he prepared for everything thoroughly and with attention to detail. He selected comfortable traveling clothes, though still of fine quality. He packed provisions, including delicacies to share. He arranged for a horse and supplies and informed his family he would be gone for perhaps 2 weeks. The journey was harder than Chen anticipated. He was accustomed to comfort and efficiency. Now he found himself on rough mountain paths, his horse struggling over rocky terrain. his body aching from long hours of travel. The first night sleeping in a wayside inn on a hard mat, he questioned his decision. The second day, climbing steep trails as the air grew thinner and colder. He wondered if this was foolishness, but something kept him moving forward, that persistent ache in his chest, that emptiness that all his wealth had failed to fill. If there was even a chance this hermit knew something he didn't, the discomfort of the journey would be worth it. On the afternoon of the third day, following directions from mountain villagers, Chen found a narrow path leading away from the main trail. He left his horse at a small monastery, explaining his destination. The monk smiled knowingly and pointed the way, warning him the final approach required climbing on foot. An hour later, breathing hard in the thin mountain air, Chen rounded a boulder and saw it a small cave opening in the cliff face, barely visible among the rocks and sparse vegetation. Sitting on a flat stone just outside the cave, gazing peacefully at the valley far below, was an elderly man in a simple brown robe. The hermit turned as Chen approached his face, showing neither surprise nor displeasure at the interruption. His eyes held a quality that was hard to describe: clear, present, deeply calm. Chen, accustomed to assessing people, quickly found himself unable to categorize this man. He didn't look holy or powerful or impressive. He simply looked complete. "Master," Chen said, bowing respectfully despite his exhaustion. "I have traveled 3 days to find you. I apologize for disturbing your solitude, but I come seeking wisdom." The hermit smiled gently and gestured for Chen to sit beside him on the stone. "You are welcome. Please rest from your journey. The mountain is patient, and so am I." Chen sat grateful to be off his feet. For a long moment, neither spoke. They simply sat together as the afternoon light painted the distant valley in shades of gold and shadow. Chen, who was never comfortable with silence, felt his usual urge to fill it with words. But something about the hermit's peaceful presence made silence feel natural, even comfortable. Finally, the hermit spoke. "You have come a long way. What brings you to this remote place?" Chen had rehearsed this moment during his journey, planning how he would explain his predicament. But now, in the presence of this peaceful stranger, his prepared speech seemed hollow. Instead, he found himself speaking simply and honestly. "I am wealthy," he began. "I have worked all my life and achieved great success. I own businesses, properties, valuable goods. I have a beautiful family, respect in my community. Everything society says should make a man happy. Yet I am miserable. I wake anxious, sleep poorly, and feel constantly dissatisfied. I heard you have nothing, yet it seemed profoundly content. I need to understand how this is possible." The hermit listened with complete attention, his eyes never leaving Chen's face. When the merchant finished, the hermit nodded slowly. "I see. You seek the secret of contentment." "Yes," Chen said eagerly. "Please, can you teach me?" The hermit smiled. "I can show you something, though. Whether it becomes teaching depends on what you are able to see. Tell me, when you look at these mountains before us, what do you see?" Chen looked out at the vista. The question seemed simple, almost trivial, but he sensed it was important. He studied the landscape carefully, the peaks, the valleys, the distant river winding through the lowlands, the forests clothing the slopes. "I see." Chen paused, noticing his mind's automatic calculations. "I see potential. Those forests could be harvested for valuable timber, cedar, and pine that would fetch high prices in the city. That valley could support agriculture if properly irrigated, perhaps growing specialty crops for wealthy buyers. The river might be diverted to power mills or transport goods. I see the streams and wonder if they contain minerals or gems. I calculate what could be developed, what profit could be extracted." Chen stopped, suddenly embarrassed. "I suppose that reveals how my mind works, always calculating, always seeking advantage." The hermit nodded without judgment. "And when I look at these same mountains, I see mountains. When I see forests, I see forests. When I see streams, I see streams. I add nothing to what is already here." Chen frowned, trying to understand. "But surely you must want something. You are human. Humans have needs: food, shelter, warmth." "Of course," the hermit agreed. "When I am hungry, I receive food from villagers who bring offerings. When I am cold, I appreciate this warm robe that was given to me. When I am tired, I am grateful for my meditation cushion. My needs are met and I want what I have. But don't you wish for more?" Chen pressed. "Better food, warmer shelter, softer bedding, some comfort in your old age." The hermit was quiet for a moment, gazing at the mountains. When he spoke, his voice carried a quality of gentle teaching. "Each wish for more creates a gap between what is and what I imagine should be. If I wished for better food, I would spend every simple meal feeling dissatisfied, wanting something different than what I have. If I wished for warmer shelter, I would spend every moment in my cave feeling it is inadequate. I would live my entire life standing in that gap between reality and desire, always reaching, never arriving." He turned to look directly at Chen. "You chase satisfaction by adding more wealth, more possessions, more achievements, more recognition. But satisfaction is not found in addition. It is found in subtraction, removing the thoughts that say, 'This is not enough, and I am not enough.'" Chen felt something shift in his chest, like a door opening slightly. "But how do you remove those thoughts?" "They seem to arise automatically." "They do arise automatically," the hermit acknowledged, "because you have spent your whole life training your mind to think this way. You have practiced dissatisfaction until it became your default state. The good news is that contentment can also be practiced. It is a skill like any other." The hermit stood and gestured for Chen to follow him to the cave entrance. "Come, let me show you my home." The cave was exactly as the poet had described, barely large enough for a person to lie down in, with walls of rough stone and a floor of packed earth. In one corner sat a meditation cushion worn smooth from years of use. Against the wall rested a simple wooden bowl and a clay jar for water. Hanging from a wooden peg was a spare robe neatly folded. That was everything. Chen felt a wave of pity looking at this stark space. This was how the hermit lived, day after day. Year after year, it seemed unbearably austere, almost punitive, but the hermit was smiling. "What do you see when you look at this cave?" "I see." Chen hesitated, not wanting to insult his host. "I see deprivation, hardship, a difficult life with minimal comfort." "Interesting," the hermit said. "Because when I look at this cave, I see perfect sufficiency. I see a dry place to sleep, protected from rain and snow. I see a comfortable cushion that supports my meditation practice. I see a bowl that holds the food I need. I see a robe that keeps me warm. Everything I need is here. Nothing I need is missing." He gestured to the vast view beyond the cave entrance. "And I see all of this, the mountains, the sky, the changing light, the seasons cycling through their eternal dance. This is also mine, though I own none of it. Or perhaps it's more accurate to say I own all of it, because I don't need to possess it to enjoy it." Chen stood silent, struggling to process this radically different way of seeing. Everything the hermit said challenged his deepest assumptions about how life worked. The hermit invited Chen to sit with him as the afternoon shifted toward evening. They sat in silence for a while, and Chen found himself noticing things he normally would have overlooked: the particular quality of light at this hour, the sound of wind moving through distant trees, the vast stillness that surrounded them. "May I tell you my story?" the hermit asked gently. Chen nodded eagerly. "Please. I was once like you," the hermit began. "Not as wealthy, perhaps, but caught in the same trap. I was a government official responsible for tax collection in 3 districts. I had power, respect, a large house, a family, and I was desperately unhappy, though I could not have told you why." Chen leaned forward, completely absorbed. "I believed my unhappiness came from not having enough. Not enough authority, not enough wealth, not enough recognition. So, I worked harder, achieved more, acquired more, and with each achievement the satisfaction lasted only moments before the hunger returned, demanding the next thing." The hermit's voice was soft but clear. "One day I was riding through the countryside when I saw a farmer working in his field. He was singing while he worked, and his face showed genuine joy. I stopped and watched him, fascinated. This man had nothing, just a small plot of land, simple clothes, a modest life. Yet he radiated contentment that I, with all my achievements, had never felt." "What did you do?" Chen asked. I approached him and asked him directly, "How are you so happy with so little?" And do you know what he said? The hermit smiled at the memory. He looked at me confused and said, "Little. I have everything. I have this beautiful day, this good earth, this strong body that can work this song in my heart. What more could I need than dan dik Buddha Beloy?" That moment changed my life, the hermit continued. I saw clearly for the first time that my unhappiness was not caused by lacking things, but by constantly believing I lacked things. The problem was not my circumstances, but my relationship to my circumstances. Chen felt his throat tighten with emotion. "So you gave everything up and came here?" "Not immediately. First, I began a practice. Every day I would spend time noticing what I already had instead of what I lacked. When I ate a meal, I would pay complete attention, really tasting the food, really appreciating that I was not hungry. When I walked, I would notice my legs carrying me, my lungs breathing, my heart beating. I practiced, wanting what I already had. "How long did this take?" Chen asked. "It is not about time," the hermit replied. "Even now, after decades, I practice this daily." But gradually I noticed a shift. The constant anxiety loosened, the desperate grasping eased. I began to feel satisfied, not because my circumstances had changed, but because my mind had changed. He looked at Chen with compassion. Eventually, I realized I could live very simply and be happy. I didn't need to give up everything. That's not the point. The point is discovering that happiness doesn't depend on accumulation. Once I knew that directly, not intellectually but in my bones, I was free to choose how to live. I chose this. He gestured to the cave and the mountains. Chen sat with this teaching as the sun touched the western peaks. Something in him wanted to argue, to explain why his situation was different, why he couldn't just stop wanting more. But another part of him, quieter and deeper, recognized truth when he heard it. "Can you teach me this practice?" Chen asked finally. "I can share what I do," the hermit said. "Whether it becomes your practice depends on you." Over the next hour, as twilight painted the sky in deepening purples and blues, the hermit taught Chen a simple meditation. It involved no special technique, no complex philosophy. Simply this notice. What is actually here, right now? Notice what you already have. Practice wanting what already is. "Start with the breath," the hermit instructed. "Notice you are breathing without any effort on your part. Your body knows how to breathe. You have this gift of breath right now, freely given. Can you want this breath? Can you appreciate it fully?" Chen closed his eyes and brought attention to his breathing. At first, his mind raced with thoughts about his businesses, his journey, his life back in the city. But gently following the hermit's quiet guidance, he began to simply feel the breath, air moving in, air moving out, this simple miracle happening automatically. "Now notice your body," the hermit continued. "It is sitting here supporting you, allowing you this experience. You have working legs that carried you up the mountain, arms that function, eyes that see, a heart that beats. Can you want this body? Can you appreciate it as it is?" Chen felt tears forming behind his closed eyes. When had he last appreciated his healthy body? He had only ever noticed it when something hurt or when he wished it looked different. "Now notice this moment," the hermit said softly. "This peaceful evening, this mountain vista, this opportunity to sit quietly and simply be. This moment exactly as it is already complete. Can you want this moment? Can you practice being satisfied with what is actually here, rather than wishing for something different?" Chen sat, breathing, feeling, being present in a way he had not experienced since childhood. And in that presence, something remarkable happened. The constant ache of wanting more, the persistent dissatisfaction that had plagued him for decades, simply fell away. Not forever, perhaps, but in this moment it was completely absent. He felt full, complete, satisfied. Not because anything external had changed, but because for the first time in his adult life, he was not adding stories of deficiency to his actual experience. Part 4. Returning to the world, Chen spent the night at the hermit's cave, sleeping on the hard ground wrapped in a blanket the hermit offered. Remarkably, despite the discomfort that his usual self would have found intolerable, he slept more peacefully than he had in months. When he woke to pre-dawn light, he found the hermit already sitting in meditation. His posture relaxed yet alert. They shared a simple breakfast, rice and vegetables that villagers had brought the previous day. Chen, who normally ate elaborate meals without tasting them, found himself savoring every bite. The rice was just rice, but when eaten with complete attention, it was somehow perfect. As the sun rose and Chen prepared for his journey back to the city, he felt both gratitude and uncertainty. Master, I have experienced something profound here, but I don't live in a cave. I have responsibilities, a family, businesses to run. How can I maintain this practice when I return to my complicated life? The hermit smiled warmly. I did not leave my life until I had spent years practicing while still engaged in the world. You don't need to live in a cave to practice contentment. You can practice it in your merchant's office, in your home, in the marketplace. He placed a hand on Chen's shoulder. The practice is simple. Throughout your day, pause regularly and notice what you already have. When you eat, really taste the food. When you see your family, really appreciate their presence. When you work, notice that you have a meaningful work to engage with. Practice wanting what is already here. But what about ambition? Chen asked. What about working toward goals? Should I just stop trying to grow my business? Stop seeking to improve things? Ah, the hermit said, this is where many misunderstand. Contentment is not the same as complacency. You can work toward goals from a place of fullness rather than emptiness. You can strive for improvement while simultaneously appreciating what is. The difference is in your motivation. He explained further, right now you work from a place of not enough. I don't have enough. I am not enough. I must get more to finally be okay. This creates desperate, anxious striving that is never satisfied. But you could also work from a place of already enough. I am already fundamentally okay, and from this foundation, I choose to create and contribute. This creates joyful, peaceful engagement with life. And Chen considered this carefully. So, I can still run my businesses, still work to make them successful, but without the constant anxiety and dissatisfaction. Exactly, the hermit confirmed. In fact, you will likely be more successful because your mind will be clearer and less driven by fear. But more importantly, you will actually enjoy the process rather than constantly postponing happiness until some future achievement. As Chen began his descent down the mountain, his mind was quiet in a way it had not been for years. He noticed the morning light on the rocks, the sound of a distant stream, the strength of his legs carrying him steadily downward. Each of these he practiced wanting, appreciating, receiving with gratitude. The journey back took 3 days as before, but this time Chen was not rushing to get back. He found himself enjoying the journey itself rather than treating it as merely the means to reach his destination. The hard mat at the wayside inn was just a mat, and that was enough. The simple food was just food, and it satisfied him completely. When he finally reached his estate and was greeted by his family and servants, Something had fundamentally shifted. His house looked the same, but he saw it differently. Instead of automatically cataloging what needed to be improved or what else he should acquire, he simply noticed, here is shelter, here is beauty, here are people I care about. And in that noticing, without the overlay of not enough, there was genuine appreciation. The deeper teaching finding satisfaction in sufficiency. As we reflect on Chen's journey and the hermit's wisdom, let this teaching settle into your awareness. The hermit did not tell Chen that wanting things is wrong, or that ambition is bad, or that we should all live in caves with minimal possessions. The teaching is far more subtle and more practical than that. The core insight is this: most human suffering comes not from our actual circumstances, but from the mental habit of constantly believing our circumstances are insufficient. We have trained our minds to focus on what's missing, what's wrong, what needs to be different. This habit creates a persistent background dissatisfaction that colors every experience. Think about your own mind's patterns. How often do you fully enjoy a meal without thinking about the next meal or wishing the food were somehow different? How often do you appreciate your current home without comparing it to nicer houses or noticing its flaws? How often do you feel genuinely grateful for your current job without wishing for a different position or more pay? This is not about whether you actually want to change jobs or move to a new house. Those may be perfectly reasonable goals. The question is, can you be fundamentally okay right now while also working toward future goals? Or have you made your current well-being dependent on achieving those future goals? The hermit's practice of wanting what you already have is revolutionary precisely because it's so simple. It doesn't require years of training or special circumstances. It's available right now in this very moment. You can practice it with your next breath. Here's how. Simply notice something that is actually present in your experience right now, perhaps. The feeling of air moving in and out of your lungs, or the surface supporting your body, or the ability to hear these words. Now, instead of taking it for granted or overlooking it in your search for what's missing consciously, appreciate it. Practice wanting it. Say to yourself, yes, this breathing. I want this breath that I'm having right now. This might sound too simple to be meaningful, but try it genuinely and notice what happens. In the moment of truly appreciating something that is already here, the quality of your experience shifts. The background dissatisfaction quiets. The desperate grasping relaxes. There is a sense of sufficiency, of having enough, of being enough. The consumer economy depends on the opposite of this practice. Advertising exists to create dissatisfaction, to make you believe you are incomplete without this product, this service, this upgrade. Social media amplifies this by constantly showing you curated highlights of others' lives, creating the impression that everyone else has more, is more, experiences more. This relentless messaging trains your mind to focus perpetually on lack. You are trained to compare your reality to idealized images and find your reality wanting. You are trained to postpone satisfaction until you acquire the next thing. You are trained to treat your current life as merely a stepping stone to the real life that will begin once you've achieved enough. But notice what happens with this strategy. You tell yourself you'll be happy when you get the promotion. Then you get promotion, and for a brief period, there's satisfaction. But quickly the mind habituates and the target moves again The goalpost keeps moving because the problem is not actually the external circumstances. The problem is the habit of mind. The hermit's wisdom is that you can step out of this trap at any moment by shifting your attention. Instead of focusing on the gap between what is and what you wish were true, you can practice fully receiving what is actually here. This doesn't mean you can't also work toward changes. It means your well-being is no longer held hostage to those future changes. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you might practice the hermit's meditation. Scan through your life and notice what is actually present rather than what's missing. You have a body that is breathing. You have a place to sleep tonight. You have made it through another day. You have encountered these teachings. Start with these simple facts and practice wanting them, appreciating them, receiving them fully. Notice what happens when you do this. Does the constant low-grade anxiety ease slightly? Does the desperate grasping relax? Do you feel even for a moment that sense of sufficiency, that what is here is enough? This is not positive thinking or denying real problems. If you're facing genuine hardship that's real and deserves acknowledgement, but even in difficult circumstances, there is a difference between suffering from the hardship and suffering from the added layer of mental resistance. You can practice this same acceptance with your circumstances, whatever they are. Not passive resignation, but active appreciation of what is actually here. And from that foundation of sufficiency, you can make changes that feel aligned rather than driven by lack. As you drift towards sleep, let go of the exhausting work of mentally cataloging everything that's wrong or missing. Simply receive this moment as it is, this breath, this body, this awareness, this peace that becomes available when you stop fighting reality and rest in what is. You are enough. This moment is enough. What you have is enough. Rest in this sufficiency. Let it hold you. You don't need to be anywhere other than here, anyone other than you are, have anything other than what you have to deserve this rest. Breathe in appreciation. Breathe out striving. Breathe in sufficiency. Breathe out lack. Breathe in the peace of enough and rest. As this understanding settles quietly within you, let us turn now to another story, one that reveals wisdom, not through words or teachings, but through silence, patience, and the slow unfolding of a human life. Part 1. The Divided Villages. Along a wide river that flowed swift and cold from mountain glaciers to distant seas, two villages faced each other across the water. The distance between them was not great, perhaps 300 paces from shore to shore at the narrowest point, but that gap might as well have been an ocean, for all the connection it prevented. The eastern village, as it was known, sat on gently sloping land, blessed with rich soil and sheltered from harsh winds by a range of low hills. The people there were primarily farmers growing rice and vegetables, tending orchards and raising livestock. They were practical folk, skilled with their hands, organized and traditional in their ways. The western village occupied rockier terrain, where farming was difficult, but minerals and stone were abundant. These people were craftspeople and traders, blacksmiths, stoneworkers, weavers, and merchants who brought goods from distant cities to sell in the surrounding countryside. They were known for their innovation and adaptability. Despite their proximity and complementary strengths, The two villages had limited interaction. Crossing the river was difficult and dangerous. In summer, strong swimmers could make it across, but the current was treacherous, and several people had drowned over the years attempting the crossing. In winter, ice would sometimes form thick enough to walk on, but it was unreliable, sometimes solid, sometimes creating dangerous, thin spots that would suddenly give way, plunging people into freezing water. A few families owned small boats that could ferry people and goods across when weather permitted. But this was expensive, time-consuming, and still risky during storms. Trade between the villages was minimal. Marriages between families were rare. Children grew up hearing about the people across the river, but rarely meeting them. Over generations, this physical separation had created emotional and cultural distance as well. Each village developed stereotypes about the other. Eastern villagers believed Western villagers were too clever, always scheming for profit, untrustworthy in business. Western villagers thought Eastern villagers were simple-minded, stubborn, resistant to new ideas. These beliefs had little basis in reality, but they were repeated so often that people accepted them as truth. When people did encounter each other at regional markets or festivals, they tended to cluster with their own, maintaining invisible boundaries. Old grievances were remembered and retold, a business deal that went bad 20 years ago, a failed courtship that ended in heartbreak, disputes over fishing rights in the river. The physical divide had become a psychological chasm. Into this situation came an engineer named Lynn, a woman in her 40s who had studied bridge construction in the capital and worked on several major projects throughout the province. She was known for her technical brilliance, but even more for her unusual approach to building. She insisted that successful bridges were as much about connecting people emotionally as they were about sound engineering. Lynn arrived in the region to assess another project and happened to stop for the night at an inn that sat between the two villages. That evening, she sat with the innkeeper and asked about the area. When she learned about the two villages separated by the river, she was immediately intrigued. "How long have they been separated like this?" she asked. "Always," the innkeeper replied. "As long as anyone can remember. My grandfather's grandfather spoke of the divide, and surely it existed long before him. And has anyone ever proposed building a bridge?" The innkeeper laughed. "Oh yes, it comes up every few years. Someone gets excited about the idea, starts talking it up. But then the reality sets in. The cost would be enormous. Who would pay? The villages can barely afford their own repairs and projects. And even if they could find the money, there's the question of whose side the bridge would be on." He shook his head. "Would it land on Eastern village soil or Western village soil? Who would control access? Who would collect any tolls? Utrakr, dotpoi, depo." He sighed. "And frankly, I'm not sure either village really wants it. They've grown accustomed to being separate. A bridge would force them to deal with each other, and I don't think either side is eager for that." But Lynn saw something different. She saw an opportunity not just to build a physical structure, but to heal a psychological rift. She saw a challenge worthy of her particular skills. The next morning, she requested meetings with the leaders of both villages. It took several weeks to arrange. Neither side was eager to engage with this stranger's radical idea. But Lin was patient and persistent. Finally, both agreed to meet with her, though separately. They would not even consider sitting in the same room together. Part 2. The Unusual Proposal. Lin met first with the Eastern Village Council in their community hall, a solid wooden structure built by careful hands decades ago. The council members were farmers, their faces weathered by sun and wind, their hands rough from work. They listened to her proposal with polite skepticism. A bridge would benefit both villages enormously, Lin explained. You could sell your agricultural products directly to Western Village instead of paying boat fees. Their craftspeople could bring tools and materials to you more easily. Young people could meet, marry, create connections between families. Trade would flourish. Your grandchildren could freely visit friends on the other side. The head counselor, a thoughtful man named Wei, responded carefully. Engineer Lin, what you say makes sense in theory, but you don't understand the history here. Those people across the river, they are different from us. Different values, different ways. If we were connected, there would be conflicts. Better to stay as we are. I understand your concern, Lin said. But I wonder how much do you actually know about them? Have you spent time with many Western villagers? Do you have friendships there? Wei hesitated. Well, no, but everyone knows what they're like. Our grandfathers' stories tell us. Exactly, Lin interrupted gently. Stories, assumptions. But what if those stories are incomplete? What if the people across the river are more like you than different? She made the same arguments to the Western Village Council the next day, meeting them in their stone gathering hall, addressing their similar concerns and stereotypes. Both villages were interested in the practical benefits of a bridge, but both were wary of the social implications. Finally, after weeks of separate discussions, Lin made an unusual demand. I will design and oversee the construction of this bridge, and I will find funding through my connections in the capital. But I have one non-negotiable condition. Both councils leaned forward with interest. Free funding. This changed everything. The condition is this, Lin continued. The bridge must be built entirely by volunteers from both villages working together, and every person who contributes labor must follow a specific protocol. They must place one stone or timber, share one truth. They have been afraid to speak and then listen to one truth from someone from the other village. The room erupted in protest at both meetings. Impossible, they said. We're not therapists, we're builders. What does sharing feelings have to do with construction? This is ridiculous. But Lin remained firm. This is my condition. I have watched bridges built before where communities remained divided in their hearts, even as they were connected in geography. Those bridges brought commerce, but not genuine connection. If we are going to do this work, we will do it properly. We will build 2 bridges, one of stone and timber that crosses water, and one of understanding that crosses the greater divide between human hearts. Part 3. Building begins. It took 3 months of negotiation, but eventually, both villages agreed. The promise of a free bridge was too valuable to pass up even with Lin's strange requirements. A date was set for construction to begin. On the chosen morning, people from both villages gathered at the river's edge. They formed two distinct groups: eastern villagers on one shore, western villagers on the other, eyeing each other across the water with suspicion and discomfort. The atmosphere was tense. Lin stood on a boat in the middle of the river, addressing both groups with a voice trained to carry. Today, we begin building a bridge that will stand for generations. Your grandchildren's grandchildren will cross this structure. But first, we build the bridge between yourselves. She explained the process clearly. You will work in pairs, one person from each village. You will approach the construction together, select a stone or timber together and place it together. Before placing it, you must share one truth with each other. This truth should be something real, something that matters, something you normally keep hidden. After both have shared, you place the stone. No sharing, no stone. It's that simple. A farmer from the eastern village, a burly man named Chen, raised his hand. What kind of truths are we supposed to share? I don't even know these people. That's precisely the point, Lin replied. You will know them after today. Share something genuine, a fear, a regret, a hope, a struggle. Something that reveals who you really are beneath the surface we usually show the world. There was much grumbling and resistance. People moved slowly, reluctantly, pairing up with someone from the other village. The first pairs approached the construction site with visible discomfort, barely looking at each other. A young Western village woman, a weaver named May, was paired with an Eastern village farmer named Jun. They stood awkwardly beside a large stone that would form part of the bridge foundation. Lin stood nearby, ensuring the protocol was followed. Well, Jun said, finally, his voice rough with embarrassment. I suppose I'll go first, a truth I've been afraid to speak. He paused, struggling. I worry constantly that I'm failing my family. My father was a great farmer, respected by everyone. My crops never seem as good as his were. I wake at night afraid that I'm disappointing everyone, that I'm not enough. The words hung in the air. June looked down, clearly uncomfortable, having revealed this vulnerability. But May's expression had softened. I understand that feeling, she said quietly. My truth is similar. I'm a weaver and people say I'm skilled, but I have a sister who died young. She was truly talented, truly special. I feel like I'm living in her shadow, like I'll never measure up to what she could have been. I'm afraid people compare me to her and find me lacking. For a moment, the two stood in silence. But something had shifted. Jun looked at May. Differently now. Not as a stranger from the alien village across the river, but as another human being, carrying the same basic struggles he carried. Together, they lifted the heavy stone and placed it carefully in the foundation. As it settled into position, they both felt something, a small sense of connection, of shared humanity, of the beginning of understanding. This scene repeated throughout the day, pair after pair. A blacksmith confessed his grief over his wife's death 3 years ago, how he still spoke to her at night. A mother revealed her fear that her son would never find his way in life. An elderly man admitted his deep loneliness since his children moved to distant cities. A young woman spoke of her shame about a mistake she'd made years ago that she'd never forgiven herself for. And as people shared these truths, something remarkable happened. The distinctions between villages began to blur. Farmers and craftspeople discovered they all knew the same fears: failure, loss, inadequacy, loneliness. Parents worried about their children in identical ways. Elderly people faced similar challenges of aging and isolation. The stereotypes began to crack. The scheming Western villagers were revealed to be people struggling to make honest livings while dealing with the same self-doubts anyone faces. The simple-minded Eastern villagers showed depth of feeling and wisdom, born from years of quiet observation. By the end of the first day, only a small portion of the bridge foundation had been laid, far less than would have been accomplished by a professional crew working efficiently. But something more important had been built. As people departed to their homes that evening, they were already making plans to work together the next day, already looking forward to continuing conversations they'd started. Part 4. The true bridge emerges. The construction continued over many months. Some days progress was slow as people worked through difficult emotions and old grievances. One memorable afternoon, a Western village merchant and an Eastern village farmer discovered they had been on opposite sides of a business dispute 20 years earlier. The merchant had felt cheated. The farmer had felt taken advantage of. They stood beside an unplaced timber, arguing about who had wronged whom. Lynn let them argue. She had learned that sometimes old wounds needed to be aired before they could heal. Eventually exhausted and hoarse, both men fell silent. Then tentatively, each began to see the other's perspective. The farmer understood the merchant's position. The merchant understood the farmer's. They wouldn't have been paired without that old grievance. Lynn's system had somehow brought them together to resolve it. They placed the timber together, and as they did, both apologized for assumptions they'd made decades ago. They didn't become best friends that day, but they became something better. People who had moved through conflict to understanding. Other pairings led to unexpected connections. A young Eastern village man and a young Western village woman, paired randomly for work, discovered they shared a love of poetry. Their friendship blossomed over weeks of working together, eventually turning to romance. Their families, which months earlier would have forbidden such a match, now celebrated it as a natural outcome of the bridge project. As the bridge grew stone by stone, timber by timber, the communities grew together. People started crossing the river in boats specifically to visit friends they'd made during construction. Eastern village families invited Western village workers to share meals. Western village craftspeople offered to teach Eastern village young people their trades. The barrier between villages dissolved so gradually that no one could point to exactly when it happened. One day, someone simply noticed that they no longer thought in terms of us and them. There were just neighbors, friends, fellow humans. When the bridge was finally completed after nearly a year of work, both villages gathered for a dedication ceremony. But the celebration was strangely muted. Not because people weren't happy, but because the bridge itself somehow seemed beside the point. As one elderly Eastern villager remarked to Lin during the ceremony, "Thank you for the bridge. We will use it well." But the greater gift was forcing us to know each other. The bridge of stone will eventually crumble. The bridge of understanding will last as long as we remember what we learned. Lin smiled. This was exactly what she had hoped to hear. She had built many physical bridges in her career, and they were impressive structures. But this one slowly built with vulnerability, built on foundations of shared truth. This was her masterwork. In her dedication speech, Lin explained what she had understood from the beginning. This bridge will stand for generations, connecting shores. But the real bridge we built is invisible. It's made of truthful words and compassionate listening. It's constructed from the courage to be vulnerable and the willingness to see beyond our assumptions. That bridge can never be washed away by floods or worn down by time. That bridge exists in your hearts. She continued. You thought you were building for practical purposes, trade, convenience, connection, and you will have all those benefits. But what you actually built was far more valuable. You built the understanding that the people you feared or dismissed as different are not fundamentally different at all. You discovered that everyone carries similar struggles, hopes, and fears. You learned that the walls between people are made of stories we tell ourselves, and those walls dissolve when we tell each other our true stories instead. The deeper teaching building, bridges of understanding. As we reflect on this story of two villages and the bridge that connected them, let the teaching work its way into your understanding. Lin's wisdom was profound. She recognized that physical infrastructure without emotional infrastructure creates connection in name only. Think about the bridges in your own life that need building. Perhaps there's a family relationship that has grown distant or strained. Perhaps there's a conflict at work that has created opposing camps. Perhaps there's a community division, a political disagreement, or even an internal split within yourself where different parts seem to be at war. The instinct in most of these situations is to focus on the practical problem. In the story, both villages initially thought the challenge was simply logistical, how to physically span the river. But Lin understood the real challenge was psychological and emotional, how to span the much wider river of misunderstanding, assumptions, and fear. The same is likely true in your situations. That strained family relationship probably isn't really about the surface disagreement. It's about deeper feelings that haven't been expressed. Hurt, disappointment, unmet expectations, fear of rejection. The workplace conflict probably isn't really about the specific policy or project. It's about people feeling unheard, undervalued, or threatened. What Lin's protocol forced people to do was revolutionary: speak their truth and listen to others' truth. Not debate, not argue, not defend positions. Simply reveal authentic experience and receive others' authentic experience with open attention. Consider how radical this is. In normal interaction, we perform. We present the version of ourselves we think will be accepted, admired, or at least not rejected. We hide our fears, we hide our failures, we hide our vulnerabilities. We keep conversation at the surface level where it's safe. This performance creates isolation. Behind our carefully constructed facades, we feel alone. We believe we're the only ones struggling. Meanwhile, everyone around us is doing the same thing, hiding their struggles behind competent masks, feeling equally alone. This is available to you right now in your relationships. The question is, can you risk being genuine? Can you share what you actually think and feel instead of what you think you should think and feel? Can you admit your fears instead of pretending strength? Can you reveal your struggles instead of maintaining the fiction that everything is fine? Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you might reflect on the bridges in your life. Where are you separated from others by misunderstanding old grievances or unexpressed truth? You don't have to build the entire bridge tonight. Just imagine placing one stone. Just imagine one honest conversation. Breathe in the courage to be authentic. Breathe out the fear of judgment. Breathe in connection. Breathe out isolation. And rest, knowing that the distance between hearts is never as vast as our fears suggest. Closing, returning to stillness. And so, dear friend, we come to the end of our journey together tonight. 4 stories, 4 teachings, 4 invitations to meet life with greater wisdom, compassion, and peace. The farmer taught us to release our constant judging, to meet life's changes with the gentle understanding that we cannot know the ultimate meaning of events before their consequences have fully unfolded. Maybe so, maybe not. We shall see. The Tea Master showed us that perfection is an illusion that prevents us from appreciating the beauty of reality as it actually is: messy, imperfect, unrepeatable. The broken bowl becomes more beautiful when we embrace rather than hide its fracture. The hermit revealed that contentment is not found in acquiring more, but in wanting what we already have, in appreciating the sufficiency of this moment, this breath, this life, exactly as it is. And the bridge builder demonstrated that the distance between people is not as vast as our walls suggest, that vulnerability is the material from which genuine connection is built, and that speaking and hearing truth can span any divide. These teachings are now yours, not as information to be stored and forgotten, but as practices to be lived. But for now, there is nothing to do with these teachings. For now, simply rest. Let them work on you at levels deeper than conscious thought, planting seeds that will grow in their own time. Feel your body settling more completely into rest. Notice how each exhale releases a bit more tension, a bit more, holding a bit more effort. Notice how you don't have to maintain consciousness. It simply is. You don't have to make yourself breathe. Breathing happens. You don't have to orchestrate this journey into sleep. Your body knows the way. In this moment, nothing is wrong. Nothing needs to be different. This breathing, this resting, this consciousness, witnessing its own experience, this is already complete. All the worries about tomorrow can wait until tomorrow. All the regrets about yesterday belong to yesterday. Right now there is only this peaceful present, this gentle awareness, this natural movement toward rest. If thoughts arise, that's fine. Let them pass through like clouds across an open sky. You are not your thoughts. You are the vast awareness in which thoughts appear and disappear. If you notice sounds in your environment, that's fine. Let them be part of your experience without resistance. You don't have to create perfect silence to find peace. Peace is available right here, right now, including all sounds, including everything exactly as it is. You are already perfect, already complete, already enough, not because you've achieved something or learned something or become something, but because perfection is not about having no flaws. It's about being fully what you are, exactly as you are, including all the beautiful imperfections that make you uniquely human. Rest in this truth. You are held by something greater than yourself. Call it life, consciousness, the universe, the great mystery. You are not separate from this. You are an expression of it, and it knows how to carry you through the night into tomorrow. So release your grip on the day. Release the need to control, to understand, to fix, to improve. Just for tonight, just for now, let everything be exactly as it is. Breathe in peace. Breathe out release. Breathe in acceptance. Breathe out resistance. Breathe in sufficiency. Breathe out lack. Breathe in connection. Breathe out isolation. Breathe in stillness. Breathe out striving. And as your breathing becomes slower, deeper, softer, as your body becomes heavier, more relaxed, more surrendered to gravity and rest, know that you are safe. Know that you are held. Know that all is well. The stories tonight were really one story. The story of returning home to yourself, to this moment, to the peace that has always been here, waiting for you to stop struggling long enough to notice it. Welcome home, dear friend. Welcome to this peace. Welcome to this rest. May you sleep deeply and wake refreshed. May these teachings continue to unfold their wisdom in quiet moments. May you remember that the peace you touch tonight is not something earned or achieved. It is your natural state, always available, always here, simply waiting for you to return. Rest well, rest deeply, rest completely. And when you wake tomorrow, may you bring even a small measure of this peace with you, meeting the day with the farmer's wise uncertainty, the tea master's embrace of imperfection, the hermit's appreciation of enough, and the bridge builder's courage to connect authentically. But all of that is for tomorrow. Tonight, there is only this breath, this peace, this rest. And here in the quiet embrace of the long night, you are free to rest completely held, supported, and gently guided by the same stillness that has always been with you. Sleep well, dear friend. Sleep well.